Welcome back to another episode of Das Delivered. I'm your host, Trucking Ray, and today we're headed up to the oil fields of North Dakota, Williston to be exact, where truckers, drillers, and the entire ecosystem of businesses that keep the oil industry running. My guest with us today is Randy Anderson, a truck driver who has been in the thick of it all. He's hauled for the oil industry, worked with crews drilling deep into the earth, and he knows firsthand the highs and lows of the life of the oil field, from pulling long shifts in brutal conditions to climbing the ranks into management. Randy has seen it all. We'll dive into the trucking side of the oil business and the lifestyle of working in the fields and what it's like to start from the bottom and work your way to the top. If you ever wonder what it's really like behind the scenes in America's oil boom, well, you're at the right place. We also have a treat where we have Jesse Herring back with us in the studio at St. Paul. We got Randy Anderson and we got Jesse Herring here on the show in the studio in St. Paul. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
All right. So, yeah, we just want to get to know you a little better, Randy. Glad to have you on. I know you're a great truck driver out there on the road, but how did you get started trucking? What was it like? I know there's an experience that everybody goes through. What was yours like?
1992, I was working for a landscaping outfit, and one of the guys that drove there ended up quitting. And after he had took the load of sod to the job, so we worked the day, and at the end of the day, the owner came up and said, "Hey, can you get that truck back to the shop? You're an old farm kid." And I said, "I can get it back to the shop," but I said, "I don't have a license." He says, that's a minor technicality. He goes, "We'll worry about that later." So I got the truck back to the shop and fueled it, parked it, and I come in the next morning and find out what location I was going to, and he said, "They're loading your truck out back." So that morning I was heading into Minneapolis, the second time in my life ever driving a truck with a load. The first time I ever drove a truck was unloaded on the way back the day before. So did that for a few days, and we got rained out one day, and I went over to the license bureau and I went in and got the manual, and I sat in the parking lot and read the manual for the air brakes endorsement, the combination, and all that stuff. Went in and took the permit test and passed it. What? And then just kept driving until I had my acquired, or the amount of time you needed to have the permit in. And then there was a local outfit that leased trucks for people to get their CDLs.
Yeah.
And I did that, drove around for an hour with them before the test, and then took the test and passed.
First time.
That's
amazing. A lot of people have to come back.
Yeah. Well, I was really nervous because, to be perfectly honest with you, the same woman that gave me my driver's license test when I was 16 was the DOT officer giving my license test for the semi. So I was really nervous.
What was that like? Was she tough on you the first time?
Very tough.
Really?
Yep. She was very tough on the boys getting their license. Yep.
Yeah, there's something there.
Yep.
Man, you got past all that. Look at that. Yep. You kept going.
Yeah.
Determination. Man, so then you got driving. What company did you pick to go work for?
I left there and I went to Fratellone Excavating, a local company. Great company. I still wish I was still there, but never let anger get in your way of your job, because I got upset and left. Wow. And then I ended up going over to Holland.
Okay.
And
that's where you met Jesse?
Yeah, it's where I met Jesse. And it was tough too, with the construction and a young family being laid off in the winters and the kids in sports. And, right. And, you know, my income was pretty much the main income for the family. And so it was kind of tough. I needed something to do in the wintertime, and got in at USF Holland over there.
Okay. What was that like?
I loved it. Yeah. I loved Holland.
So if you're a new driver and you're looking at what to do, so is that line haul?
I started in the city.
Okay.
The company was growing like mad when I first got in there. And I think by my first year, I had 20 some guys under me on the dock.
Wow.
But yet there was still 20 above me before I could even get off the cleanup shift.
Okay.
So I got talking to the road drivers at night, and that's where I met Jesse. And he said, well, if they put up a road bid, he says, sign the road bid, even if a bunch of other people sign it, because at Holland, you could do a 29-day trial.
Okay.
So some of the senior guys, I think, just did it to get off the dock for 29 times, because there was 6 of us that signed the sheet, the road bid. And it finally got down to me, and I stayed.
Nice.
I stayed out there. So
they gave you a 29-day trial because it's a big change in lifestyle.
it is.
I mean, your sleep, when you're home, we were gone. You're on your extra board. You could be gone Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday, or you're home every other day or every couple of days. You just never knew.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's actually nice.
There was more than once I was down in Atlanta, Georgia on a Friday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Trying to get back.
Yeah.
Whew. Man, so you got through all of that and got to meet Jesse. What was your first impression of Jesse? I mean, he's a great guy, man. What was that like?
Intimidating when you first meet him.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. But he'll, I think he sees certain things in certain people, and he'll take you in under your wing. I mean, we've been talking on the phone at night for years, so.
That's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part of trucking that a lot of people don't really understand, is that the camaraderie you get, and then once you're in it, you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. You got family here.
Yep.
So that's nice. Then what happened after that? Where were you headed for Holland? It's probably changing your career, you told me.
Yep. Yeah. I got laid off 2008, 2009 when the economy tanked. Couldn't find a job anywhere. Friend of mine had gone up to North Dakota and interviewed at 6-7 places, and he said, I'm going to take this one job at this company called Sandgel. And he says, I really like the way the interview went. And so I called up there, basically interviewed over the phone, and got a start date, and finished up the application when I first got there, and figured I'd be up there for about 6 months.
Okay.
And it turned into a 12-year career.
12 years?
12 years, yeah.
Wow, man. So what was your first experience like? Did you go to Williston right away, or
Yes.
was there another? Okay.
Yep. Went to Williston, North Dakota. You had a week orientation, and after your week of orientation, you got a reset, and then they sent you out. They put you in the field with the crews.
Okay. What was your first experience like? I know we were touching on like Holland a little bit, but what was your experience like going up there?
I was nervous. It was cold. It was so cold. It was like 31 below outside when I was sitting in orientation, and 51, 52 below with the wind chill. And I'm like, what did I just get myself into?
Right.
But I met a lot of great people up there.
Even then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you share a story about a few of your days or the weeks of what it was like in the oil field, maybe eye-opening moment as a rookie or some mistakes that you made?
Yep.
Let's share a little bit about
when you first started there at this company, they didn't give you your color or your crew. So there was red, blue, and green crew. So they didn't give you the color of your crew till that crew went on days off. So your first stint up there was over a month long, depending on when you started. I had pretty much used my last $500 to get there. It took me about $300 in gas to get there. I had $200 left when I got there. So food was ridiculously expensive.
So you had your own truck?
Nope. I drove my pickup up there.
Okay.
The company I drove for, the Sandgel, they did cementing, where they cemented the casing into the ground.
Okay.
They had coil tubing and fracking. And I got into the cementing part, and you're basically on call 24/7 for your 2 weeks that you were there.
Okay. Wow.
So,
Man, so, was there a rookie moment that maybe when you first started that some mistakes? Let's see if there was something that people can learn from when they go up there, what not to do.
just take your time, basically doing what you're doing, because in the winter they don't plow like they do around major areas.
Wow.
They basically will close the roads if it's snowing once it's dark.
Okay.
Or they'll put up no unnecessary travel. So the rigs will call you out early, and you'll sit there forever waiting for the rig, because they just want to make sure that they've got the crew there so when they're ready. Because a lot of them company men truly believe that the oil's going to go bad, even though it's been in the ground for millions of years. If they don't get it out now, it's their bonus that they're going after, but
You got something
tease
motivating.
them back and forth. Yeah.
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 I like that.
As for rookie mistakes, the one thing with that company, they always convoyed to every location there and back. You held the corners till the next truck came. He held the corner for the next truck, and so on until the last truck made the turn. So you never really had to get worried about being lost. The supervisor was in a pickup, and he was always first.
Huh.
And then it was the pump truck and the bulk trucks behind it.
Wow. Yeah, because that could be a little intimidating for newcomers.
It is, because
like you
there's
said.
really no road signs. You're on lease roads that are unmarked. And yeah, it's really easy to get lost if you're out there by yourself.
Yeah, because it gets dark in North Dakota.
Yes.
What's
Yep.
that like? I mean, man, you're out there. Sometimes they say it's like blackouts, and there's also whiteouts.
Oh, the snow. Yeah. Yeah. I swear on Highway 2, I seen the wind change 4 different directions in one 5-mile stretch.
Wow.
Just watching the snow, the way it was blowing back and forth across the road,
Yeah, it can get dangerous out there. I mean,
It can.
You can.
It can. The cold is just because it's always so windy there. I always used to joke, that North Dakota was so flat you could stand on a 12-pack and watch your dog run away for a week. But man, that wind gets cooking out there, and you could freeze to death fast.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing blocking. There's no trees, hardly, just the power lines.
No.
And
No.
then if you fall in the snow too, sometimes those drifts, you
Right.
can have a hard time getting out of there.
Yep. Yep. But we had what they call the triple rail chains. So they covered both tires, one set of chains that covered both tires. And then we had them ice picks. I don't know if you ever watched that Ice Road Truckers or whatever up in Canada. They used the same type of chains that we had with the ice picks on them.
Wow.
They're not legal to run down the road, but when you got off road, you'd get them from the water trucks leaking, and them roads would be glare ice
Wow.
going into the rig. And
Nerve-wracking.
yeah, it can be.
All right. So what kind of trucking jobs exist in the oil industry? Not just trucking, but there's quite a few others that maybe you know about. I know you mentioned some already. Just list them for the listeners. Maybe something that they can apply and say, hey, I want to do that.
Well, there's water hauling, of course. You basically haul fresh water to the rigs, bring them salt water. They also will go to locations and pick up the salt water from the separators, and they will bring that to an injection well, and then they pump that back down into the formation, because it's not pure oil that comes out. I can't remember what the percentage is, but there's always salt water coming out with the oil.
Man, so they can't really apply for those specific jobs. That's
They
something that
can.
the foreman
There's
tells
certain
them.
companies out there that absolutely, that's all they do is haul oil and salt water. And they're dangerous jobs because of the H2S gas. 500 parts per million, you won't be with us anymore. So we all wore or the H2S monitors and stuff. And the oil haulers, I think, have it the worst because they're hauling the oil that will have the H2S in it.
Huh.
Oh, didn't we have a friend of ours from Standard, Nick? Doesn't he haul some type of sand?
Frac sand.
Frac sand.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Frac sand.
When you take it out, they put that in
Yep.
there.
And it's weird how they haul it now. They used to haul it in the same trailers that we hauled it in, the air pneumatic trailers.
Okay.
You know, like you'll see Wayne's pulling around them food liner trailers and stuff. Right. That's what we hauled our dried cement in. And that's also what they were hauling the frac sand in. And now it's like cans, and they just pick it up with cranes and put it on the deal, and it'll just dump it on a conveyor, and then it'll feed the blender.
Wow.
To mix it to the right density with the gel and stuff to go down and crack the earth, get the oil to flow a little better.
Yeah. Wow. Don't take everything out. You got to put something back, right?
Yep.
All right. And that's some of that says just the way it works with, in order to get that product out of the ground. I mean, they're drilling pretty far down in the ground. I mean,
what's the furthest you guys drilled, Randy?
Well, we didn't drill it, but the one rig we did was 5.5 miles from where they broke earth to where they stopped. And they told us that they had to stop because they were going into the next county. So we had
Wow.
2 pump trucks out there, and our large acid pumper, which we always called Daisy for some reason, but it was 1,000 horsepower, just in case we had any issues displacing it because it was so far and so much cement. Because the cement that they use to cement the casing in the ground is designed basically when it stops moving, it starts setting up.
okay.
So you have any issues where you got to slow down or anything like that is very crucial on time. You don't sit too long, or otherwise you're not going to get it moving again. And then it gets to be a big project to get the rest of the casing cemented in.
So that has happened then.
It has happened.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, so how long does it take to get it right? Like days or weeks?
No, to pump the cement job, if everything goes right, by the time you're rigged in and everything, you might have 2.5, 3 hours into pumping the cement, finishing the job. It takes about an hour to rig in. It's 1502 high pressure iron line. It's rated for 15,000 PSI. But we don't see that type of pressure in cement. The most pressure we would see is 3,500, 4,000 pounds of pressure.
So if something were to go wrong and they had to fix it, how long does it take to fix it?
You got to fix quick. You got to think on your feet. One night we had a fuel pressure regulator go bad on one of the motors on the pump truck. And I basically sat between the engines with a valve and as soon as the pressure would start building, I'd release pressure back into the fuel tank. So I sat between 2 screaming motors all night, keeping an eye on a pressure gauge to make sure we got the job done.
Dang, so you did a lot of babysitting like that. Man.
Yeah.
Man, that's critical to get that stuff going, man. I mean, you got some great stories there. I mean, people hopefully go up there and they have some fun while they're doing it too. What was it like for the trucking and the oil industry compared to over-the-road trucking in terms of like hours and stress and even the pay?
The hours and the stress level are pretty much through the roof. Like I said, we were on call 24/7. I couldn't tell you how many times I got to my apartment and I was bending over to untie my boots and my phone would ring and off we'd go again. And,
after how many hours? Like,
lots.
Days.
The longest I ever sat on location was 52 hours. They released us. Ooh. We stopped at a cafe and had breakfast because we'd been on location for 52 hours. And we were walking out and the supervisor's phone rang and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." And I go, they got unstuck and they called us back. He goes, yep. So back we went. We sat another 12 hours before we rigged in again. And then and then we finally got to pump the job, after that 12 hours of wait. But you're not doing nothing. So all the trucks had sleepers. Okay. So you could sleep, but how good does anybody sleep in the truck with the truck running? You hear the rig constantly revving and pulling on the pipe because they're stuck. So there's just all kinds of unfamiliar noises. So you don't get as good a sleep as you should, but you got to like roller dogs and energy drinks to work out there.
Nice.
Or you did back then. I've been out of there for a few years now, but.
Or translate that sound to money.
Yes.
So I'm making money because I can hear that motor going.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
And just keep staying at it. I mean, what's the longest you've seen somebody stay at that job? You said 12 years.
I was out there 12 years. There was a lot of guys out there that were longer than that. And I got buddies that are still out there. I came back.
Well, it kind of died down.
It did die down with COVID and oil was going down and then COVID hit.
So what years were you there?
I was there from 2009 to 2020. So I guess more 11 years.
Wow.
But April of 2020, I came home.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably a relief off your shoulder, man. The stress level on that sounds intense.
I'll never forget when I came home, the question my daughter asked me. She asked me right to my face. She goes, would you have come home if you hadn't been laid off? And before I could even stop myself, I said no. Because I was addicted to the money. I was addicted to the fun. I was with them guys up there more than I was with my own family,
Wow.
So it's a different way of living for sure.
Wow.
Made a lot of good friendships from up there.
So you got a big family or a small family?
I got two boys and a daughter.
Okay. So they're also helping you too, because
yeah,
they're keeping it going.
Well, I'll tell you my nickname when I first went up there. They all started calling me Joe Dirt.
Really?
Yeah, from the movie Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
When he was in the oil field. I'm new. I don't know what to do. So yeah.
One of my favorite scenes is he's posing for it and he's doing his little dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Joe Dirt. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So man, so they helped you that lifestyle. What was it really like? Your typical day as a trucker in the oil fields. I mean, I've heard stories of guys, doing substance to keep them going. They do a line on the steering wheel.
There was a lot of that up there. Not with our company.
Okay.
We were drug tested pretty regularly.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And, but you heard stories from the old timers, back in the 80s, there was guys that were just working up there for the booger sugar, they didn't care.
No booger. So they would run basically as a contractor. They kind of did their own thing. They can do that because who's watching those guys? Their own boss.
Right. Well, so like Marathon Oil is a huge company.
Okay.
So Marathon Oil owns the lease. They'll hire on a drilling company. I'm going to go with Whiting, which was one of the companies we did a lot of work for up there. So Whiting brings in the rig. And then they bring in the crew to work on the rig. So everybody's kind of like a third party contractor, except for the company man. The company man, I believe, is a Whiting employee.
All right.
So he's the one that makes all the decisions, all that on the rig. He's the man.
All right. How do you guys get food? I mean, you think about all those hours, you're in the truck, you're going to run out of food. I mean, let alone the bathroom.
You make the supervisor go to town with his company card and get everybody food.
Hey.
But we always told everybody to try and bring at least 2 days worth of food with you.
Okay.
Because you never know. If everything goes right, we did one job. We did an intermediate job, which was about 10,000 feet. We weren't very far from the shop. But from the time we got called till the time we got back to the shop was 5.5 hours.
Wow.
So, but I've been on that same type of job with another rig where it was 3 days when we came back, you know?
Yeah. I've seen,
Yep.
So, I mean, some of these places, they had grocery stores run out of food, or I mean, the cost of it would shoot up through the roof.
Yep.
Even a house and board was
I
outrageous.
remember paying $7 for a gallon of whole milk at Walmart.
Man.
And if you got there after 9, they went to one checkout register and the line went all the way back to the electronics department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those lines. People would just stay there because they got to get it, right?
Yeah, you got to get it. That's your only option because everything else is closed and you don't know if you're going to be around in the morning to go to Albertsons or one of the other grocery stores.
Man. So, and then there's stories about like the lifestyle. It can come along with the town like a party town.
It did. It really did. And I really felt bad for the locals, the way it exploded and the cost of everything went through the roof. Because if you were a retired person there and you didn't have money or mineral rights or had sold off your ranch or whatever, you couldn't afford to stay there because the rent and the cost of living just went insane.
Wow.
Like I said, that apartment we got into for $510 a month for the two of us.
Yeah.
Later on, I don't know, it was probably 5 years later, the guy never raised our rent, but he sold the apartment building to a guy in New York, and our rent went from $510 to $1790. So that was the first time I went into company housing because I'm like, I'm not paying that much for rent.
What's company housing like?
They would get you a room in a man camp, or they actually got into a deal where there was a place built for elderly people and something with the permits were done wrong and they wouldn't let them house the elderly there. So they leased it to our company and a couple other companies. So we stayed there. So you basically had like an apartment, you know, but.
So it wasn't good enough for the elderly.
Right.
But it was good enough for the oil guys.
Well, it was something with the permits that they couldn't, but they had restaurants in that building and everything. So it was decent.
Okay. Did you guys have to carry a piece with you? Protection?
I did in my room when I was in that apartment. I bought two, they called them stagecoach guns. They were short double barrel shotguns, and I had one on each side of my bed in my apartment.
Really?
Yeah. I never needed it, but
made you feel secure.
It did. They weren't loaded or anything, but it was kind of funny when anybody would see them, and it's like, what the hell's with that? I said, that's my protection.
Yeah, because they said the crime just went crazy.
It did.
Yeah,
it did. Walmart started closing at night because people they were just walking out with cartfuls of stuff.
Oh, stealing too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yep. We didn't, after it really took off up there, we didn't go out at night anymore just because there was so much money and so much testosterone up in that town.
Testosterone? What's that about?
Well, it's just, it's nobody's better than me. You get them roughnecks, man, and you get them drunk. Holy cow. That is a different breed of people.
Oh man,
yeah.
I mean, there was even some risky behavior going on. I mean, one guy told me he was sleeping in a truck, and he would use a seatbelt to keep the door closed because one day he woke up and the police was all around, and they said, somebody got raped three trucks down.
Yep. I never seen anything like that, but the stress on people up there, because you're away from your families and everything like that. And the stress, the hours, the eating poorly. Like I said, we lived on roller dogs and energy drinks for many years. Because here's the thing, in the oil field, in trucking, you need a 34-hour reset to get your 70 back. In the oil field, we only needed 24 hours to get our 70 back.
Wow.
And then when we hit location, there was this thing that was called oil field exempt.
Yeah. That's what I was
So
thinking.
our equipment was oil field specific, so we could use that oil field exempt. It stopped your 14-hour clock.
Huh.
Kind of like a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would go from rig to rig to rig. It was supposed to be to get you back to camp,
Okay.
but you know, we used it to our advantage to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you're up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're away from your family, you might as well make as much as you can.
So, what was the biggest safety concern for truckers working on the oil rigs? I know there's a lot of stories and things, but what would you sum it up as for safety concerns if somebody were to go on a oil rig?
My biggest fear out there was the H2S gas, I
H2S.
would say.
What is that?
It
Tell
is
me
a
about that.
gas that comes out of the ground. It's an oil. Actually, I was told by somebody it's actually a parasite. I don't know how true that is, but it is a gas that comes out of the ground. And I can't remember. I think if you've ever been up there and you drive by a well and you get that rotten egg smell,
Yeah.
that's H2S gas.
Because I heard about, it would get in the water and they would turn on the faucet and you can put a match to it.
I don't know how true that is because there's 3 different pieces of casing and cement between each water. So I don't know how they're getting the H2S into the water system unless it's being put in there by man.
Wow. Because I would go to my father-in-law's house and you turn the water on and it would have that
Really?
smell. Yeah.
Well, now like the one farm I worked on when I was a kid, they had a lot of iron and you would turn the hot water on and you would get that rotten
Smell.
egg smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. That wasn't H2S.
That's
That was just iron. But
Ah.
in Pennsylvania, they claimed, I seen a video of a guy turn on his faucet and take his lighter and light the water on fire.
Yeah. Side story. You've been
Yep.
there for that Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah.
Tell people about that. I mean, that experience and what they're going through over there from that spill. I mean, people probably forgot about it.
What was that the name of that town over there?
Over by Joe.
Yeah.
It wasn't Canton.
No, but it's over there. But yeah, the federal government decided it was better to burn off these chemicals than to clean it up. And there's all those contaminants that are still in the ground there. He said they're still there digging, trying to get the contaminants out.
So Pennsylvania oil spill. And then when was that?
It was train derailment. It wasn't oil.
So we'll do Pennsylvania train
Yep.
derail.
Yeah.
That's Ohio.
East Palestine there.
That is East Palestine.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So,
And that was 2003?
yeah. 23.
23. It was only
Yep.
a couple years ago.
Oh, sorry. 2023?
Yep. Yep.
Let's see here.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the pileup.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. So your experience in the oil field kind of knew what this was about here because it sent some alarms for you because you spent all that time up there. You kind of knew what they were dealing with. When this burns, instead of putting it out, they sent planes in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually worse than anything we would have had to have dealt with in the oil field.
Really?
Yeah. Unless, unfortunately, you were on a rig that had a blowout.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because each one of them cars, you got thousands of
Yep.
gallons in them cars.
Refined.
Yeah, and then that just leaks out.
Yep.
This is not the crude oil.
No. Nope. That was paint thinner and all kinds of stuff in there.
And so they're never going to get this right. They got to
No.
just...
I don't think they'll ever, personally, I don't think they'll ever get that cleaned up
Wow.
completely.
Yeah. Man.
So
Yeah.
just like that Chernobyl, I'm fascinated with that stuff. I've watched almost every documentary I can get my hands on. And even that, that building that they've built over it, they're claiming is only going to last 100 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
So
So it just breaks down? Like what?
Yeah, it'll eventually start breaking, the radiation will start breaking that building down.
Whoa. It's a miracle we wake
Right.
up every day, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But
I mean, you think about these things that go on out there, just so we can get these resources going. I mean, some people start getting a little worked up about the economy, or they would get worked up about the environment. I mean, there's a lot that could be said about it on both sides, I know. But so when Williston, the growth exploded, that played with a lot of people's life there and the community. What would you say to these individuals when it comes to the importance of oil, your opinion, that it's a necessary evil?
Oil's in everything. I always used to tell the new guys that it's the 3M of the earth. There's always something in your clothes, in your cell phone, in your hat, your car tires, in your car, in the motor, in the metal, the paint. There's a petroleum product in everything.
Right.
So these people that want to completely get rid of oil, there's going to be nothing left. We're going to be, rummaging around till the clothes are gone, and then we'll be, leave skirts, I guess, because there won't be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that it's in everything.
It's in everything. It's in medication. It's in hand lotion, it's everywhere.
Yeah, because they're getting worked up about plastic being in your blood.
Yes.
I was like, well, there's oil probably in your blood too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to try to stay balanced. It's a hard thing to do.
It is.
When you're out there in those oil fields, you were trying to stay balanced for your health.
Right.
And it's going to be a struggle. That's just part of life.
Yeah.
Man, so what kind of business thrived along the oil industry that as a supporting, there's some stores, there's restaurants, there are places that are catering to specifically for truckers or rig workers. Yeah. What was that like? What kind of businesses were those?
When I first got up there was 2 Cenex stations, Cenex North and Cenex South. That was the only 2 trucking areas. One had maybe room for 5-10 trucks, and the other one had room for 20, 30, maybe 40 trucks. Later on, when the boom really took off, then Love's came in. They got a Love's. I think it's Love's there on 13 Mile Corner there when you first coming into Williston. They call it 13 Mile Corner because it's 13 miles from there to town. So, but then there was a couple other truck stops that came in. Highway 85 that went to Watford was a 2-lane road. It's now a 4-lane road. It bypasses some of the smaller towns, so they don't have the truck traffic. And Williston did the same thing. They built truck bypasses so the trucks weren't coming through town. They were going around town instead of through it.
Huh.
But
all right. Well, moving up from the bottom to management. I mean, what was that like?
It was a lot of work.
Okay.
I started out driving a truck with a pneumatic trailer, just like everybody did. I remember asking one of my mentors, I said, how long before I can be a pump operator? And he said, oh, probably a year or 2. Mm-hmm. And I got a little disheartened, I'm like, oh, that's, thinking to myself, that's a little more than I wanted to be, but okay. So that spring I was starting to get onto the pump truck.
Okay.
But what we would do, I had my supervisor at the time, my pump operator, and our engineer. They all kind of took me under their wing, or I probably wouldn't made it. Because like I said, I had $200 left.
Okay.
When I got there. I didn't get a check for 2 weeks, and it was only for my 1 week of orientation.
Okay. And
I sent most of that home to the wife,
right,
for her and the kids, so they could keep eating.
Yeah.
And then I, once I got my first paycheck, probably a month later, My supervisor actually bought me a pair of boots because my boots were so bad. They hurt my feet that I could barely walk, by the end of the day. And just told me, he says, pay me back when you get a check.
Right.
So that's what I did. But if it wasn't for them three, I probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Teamwork.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm really big on is, even especially with the Teamsters and all, I mean, teamwork, all this stuff gets done with the help of other people. No one can do it by themselves.
Right.
And, think about how the Teamsters has helped so many people elevate their income, so
Correct.
Teamwork is huge, man.
Yep.
I mean, your management stepping in there, being there for you, taking you under the wing. That's great. So how do you transition into management roles?
Well, I went from the dry bulk operator to the pump truck operator. And with each step is more and more responsibility. And then I was I on the pump? I think I was on the pump for 2 winters.
Okay.
And we just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I moved up to supervisor. And now your responsibility is even bigger. And that's where I started having some health issues. And my boss at the time, he was a bigwig at the company. I went into his office one day and said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going home. And he shut the door and he goes, I can tell there's something wrong. He goes, because I've seen you changing over the last few months. He says, I want you to go home and see your doctor and find out what's going on before you quit. He said, you'll always have a job here. So I did. And I went home and the doc did a bunch of tests and everything. And here they found out that my body quit producing testosterone. So once a month, I get a 400 milligram shot to this day.
Was that from the oil fields?
Nope.
Okay.
It was just my body quit producing it. And, it was usually, it's usually caused from testicular cancer.
Right. Yeah.
But it was tested for all that
You're good to go.
and no cancers. But it was amazing. Once you find out what that does for your body, I was just run down all the time. I was crabby. I was stressed. It was just never even. And even, I can tell when it gets close to doing my shot, I can feel myself start coming down.
Right.
So it's.
Yeah. Insulin, testosterone, those are all chemicals to keep you balanced. Again, we look at that balance part, man.
Yep.
Your body needs teamwork too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you want to take a moment to take a sip?
Sure.
Yeah, because I know you're going at it. You're doing good, man. Yeah.
Is it actually recording, Ray?
Uh-oh. We got to start over.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's the clock's ticking up there, so.
Okay.
There you go. And then I go and I check the mic. I'm like, oh, make sure that thing's working.
Yep.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so testing. Look at that. Hey, thanks.
Yep.
So yeah, we're back.
So I became supervisor, and once I got that figured out, and then I moved over to the acidizing side of things.
Oh wow, what's that?
Well, we would go work on the old wells if they weren't producing like they would. We would get a sample from the well. Their company man would get us a sample. Our lab would run a test, and they would come up with an acid blend that would clean that well up to get it to produce better. And that was nice because you always knew when you were going out, because we never pumped acid in the dark, because you don't want to have a leak. You want to be able to see. So we never pumped acid in the dark. So it was more of a daytime gig. And,
okay.
And
why not in the dark?
Just because of the leaks. We've pumped all the way up to 32% HCl, and that, I don't know if you know much about acid, but you open up the tank, if you ain't got a face mask on, it'll take your breath away.
Wow. I didn't know if it was as bad as ammonia, because
it's pretty bad. Okay. The higher percent, usually we pumped 18%, which is really nothing more than pure orange juice,
Okay.
but you get up to the 32 and because then there's less chemicals in it to tame it down.
Pure orange juice. I mean, oh, you lost me a little bit there to come back. You could drink it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, but we always used to joke it was, about as strong as, well, no, I would say even the 10% we would probably joke about being orange juice or Coca-Cola,
Won't hurt you much.
Right.
Yeah, I got
But
you.
on that side of it also, being that they're older wells, you're more prone to run into the H2S.
Oh, okay.
So it usually is coming up once the well's produced for a while. And, like I told you earlier, that one old company man told me that it was like an enzyme or a parasite, that H2S.
Okay.
And it's, 500 parts per million and you won't be here anymore. Mm-hmm. So it don't take very much.
What skills and traits helped you advance in your career for moving up?
Well, they loved me because I was a truck driver before I came up there. So I had miles behind me. I had a good driving record. So they liked that. I had a pretty much free ticket up there because I knew how to make that. I always had time. We'll just say.
Because he's the fancy man.
Yeah. 1.0? Fancy Man 1.0?
Yeah.
And then there's
I'll tell
Fancy
you
Man.
I'll tell you that story.
Go ahead. Yeah, we can throw that in there.
Oh, I was coming in from Joliet and was coming in. I just crossed the river and 94 was all backed up. And I was talking to my buddy Joe, or was I talking to you, Jesse?
Joe.
I was talking to Joe and traffic was all backed up. And I go, I don't know who the heck these people think they are. They delaying the fancy man to get to us. So ever since then, them two have been calling me the fancy man. So,
Yeah.
but, I can't remember exactly how I said it, but I went on this huge rant and then I said the fancy man,
Well, don't they know who's coming down the road?
Yeah.
The
Fancy man.
You got to own it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys keep that going, man, that's cool, man. Keep you guys having fun. Keep giving a good laugh for each other. That's that brotherhood, man.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is. Absolutely it is.
Well,
So
as far as looking up into the, you moved into management.
Yeah.
You got to help other people, be there for them, look after them, and keep the production going. If you could go back and where you would mentor your young self when you started, what would you tell yourself?
Specifically in the oil field, are you talking, or just in life in general?
Yeah, well, I guess you could blend them both together. But
Yeah.
the oil field, I mean, think about somebody going up there because they're going to be starting to drill a lot more. So they're probably going to be looking for it. They're ramping up,
Well, see, the one thing, there's always going to be trucking in North Dakota because there's no way for the oil to get out of there other than by rail.
How much oil do you think is down there? How much?
They told me there's more oil in North Dakota than there is in the Middle East.
And how did you see that? Because they had some people out there measuring. Right?
Well, yeah, they have these. You'll see them in the wintertime. I've never seen them in the summer, but they run around, geologists with these sonars or whatever, and they drive around and find the big pockets of oil. And I suppose the drilling companies, hire these guys, and then they'll see if they can lease the property. But there'll always be trucking up there. You're going to be driving on the worst roads imaginable all the time, summer, winter. In the summer and winter, as long as you can get the truck to scale out, the max load limit up there is 105.5.
Wow.
During frost laws and stuff like that, you got to be at the axle weight. It's just like everywhere else, 9 ton per axles. A lot of your township roads are 6 ton per axle. We've used as many. We started getting tanks that we would go set up out on location. And we've had as many as 8 bulk trucks going out there because we could only load them to 6 ton per axle.
Man.
We had a bunch that were 4-axle trucks, 4-axle trailers. We had a bunch of 3-axle trailers, but most of the time, them, when it allowed it, were loaded to 105.5.
Right. Wow.
But the best thing is to get to know somebody. If you're moving up there, find a place that has company housing, because renting up there is still ridiculous.
Still. It didn't come down.
It's probably come down, but
You get another big boom up there, it'll probably go right back up.
And everything will just climb again. One summer, the Dairy Queen had a $3,000 sign-on bonus if you applied and took a job at the Dairy Queen, because everybody was going out to the oil field.
Man, so they needed more people on staff. They needed more people. Dairy Queen is a hot spot, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing.
But the most important thing would be is find yourself a mentor. Find somebody that's willing to take you in under their wing and show you the ropes.
But are you going to go there and make serious money?
You can.
Like
Absolutely,
what?
you can.
Talk to me. What kind of money are we talking about?
Well, them kids on the rig were making anywhere from $150 to $2,000 a year.
Wow.
They would go to
200,000.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
They would go to the dealership and buy a pickup with cash and drive it across the street to the shop and have it deleted, lifted, and all that other fancy stuff put on it. And they didn't care about no warranties, anything like that.
Yeah.
They had money. They didn't care if it broke bad enough. They'd just go buy another one. I've
200,000, huh?
200,000 a year.
Back then, that was really good money.
Yeah. Yep.
But then they ate it up pretty good with cost of living.
Well, and everybody's the same.
Well,
This is going to go forever, and I did it.
but you got to remember, Ray, he'd come home every couple
2
weeks.
weeks.
Every 2 weeks, he came home for a week and go back up. So he didn't live, he rented up there, so he's paying that. Plus, he had to pay flight, train, gas, whatever, going back and forth.
Wow.
Once they built the new airport up there and flights came down, I started flying back and forth.
Is that Minot?
Yeah, to Williston.
Williston has its own airport.
Yep, they've got an international airport there now.
What?
So, yep. It's tiny. It's like four
Gates.
gates.
Yeah.
But we flew out of Minot once
Me too.
to go to Colorado for some training.
Okay.
And it was me and the engineer. And I go, where'd the guy go that took our tickets? He goes, he's probably out there throwing our luggage in the plane. I'm like, no way. We walk over to the window and there he was. He was the guy who sold the drinks. He took your baggage and he backed the plane out.
What?
Yes. One guy.
Oh, man. I just remember trying to get the car in the parking spot because there was so much snow. It's just like you were driving over a big hill or a big speed bump just to get into the parking spot.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is never melting.
Yeah. 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 But it's, I tell you, it's hot as heck there in the summer and it's cold as heck in the winter.
Right.
North Dakota's got its own bipolar weather system other than what we have here. They don't get the snow we can get here. They have, but the cold, but you're given so much gear from these companies.
Okay.
I carry it in my truck for survival gear, my old field gear from up there.
Okay.
In case I ever break down.
You got a Jesse Herring bag, huh?
Yes, I do.
There you go.
He's the one who showed me how to pack that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to look after yourself. Ain't nobody else going to do it for you, right?
Yeah.
You out there
Got
by
my
yourself.
candle and I got my winter boots and my bibs and jacket and some protein bars.
You can lay down on the ground, no problem, and break those brakes, right?
Yeah. Boy, ain't that fun in the winter.
Yeah, people say you don't have to do that.
Whoa, bull.
Yeah.
I just had to do it the other day. Crawl under there and beat the brakes to get them to release.
Yeah. Every time I mention that to a truck driver, they kind of roll their eyes like, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, there's some people out there that think you could just use the trailer brake.
Right.
and do some stuff with it and build up the pressure.
What is it where we work now? They say just back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that going to do if I'm on ice?
Or if you're up against the dock, what good? You can't back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're disc brakes, and they're sealed. You can't even get to them.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to bang on them.
Yeah.
You got to bang on the outside.
You got to beat some drums. You got to beat some, what do you call them? Bud spacing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I haven't had any problems with the rotor brakes. Just the drum brakes on the trailer I've had some issues with, but
so recommend a 4-pound hammer.
yes, everybody should have a 4-pound hammer, a screwdriver, and a vice grips at least, or a crescent wrench.
What if it got a 2-pound hammer?
It might not be big enough. Yeah, you have to swing harder, that's for sure.
Longer handle.
Yeah.
Better odds of giving yourself a black eye with that 2-pound hammer.
Ray, just call the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing like trucking. So the biggest, kind of concluded, there's lessons, there's challenges, and we can always give other truckers and young ones coming into the field advice. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from the time you've been in the oil fields, or even starting things out, with line haul? You're still doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say to individuals that are in trucking? Just some word of advice. What would you say?
Friendships. Always treat the new guy with respect, because a lot of us have forgot where we've started. We were all green hats one day in the oil field. We were all the new trucker at the company at one time. And it don't seem to be where, and I'm guilty of it too, where the more experienced guys aren't helping out the newer guys. It's unfortunate, but there's always somebody out there willing to help you.
Okay.
You just got to find them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people at these companies. Not everybody's.
Well, yeah, but you got certain companies where it's like, well, you got hazed when I got hired here, so why shouldn't you get hazed?
Right.
It's like, that's pretry bad philosophy.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's just not going to help yourself at all.
No.
What about some of the toughest moments, either on the road, working the rig, or even at home? What advice would you give to them to kind of keep going? There's probably some times where you're going to feel like, hey, what am I doing? What would you say to these individuals to kind of keep them going? Because we need them. We need them out there.
Yeah. Out in the oil field, we got called out on 2 blowouts where people lost their lives. Because we got called out there. I think it was by Boots and Coots, or no, Wild Well Control. We got called out there by, they got the well shut down, but the BOP was burnt so badly from the fire that they needed to replace it. And we had to rig in from 600 feet away. And Wild Well Control had like this ridiculously large flow jet that they had set up that we rigged into, and we were going to pump a water sand mixture to this machine that would basically cut the BOP off, plug the well to where guys could get up there and weld it and cap it. It's different being on a location where people lost their lives. Another one, that was a big rig. The other one was a workover rig, and the one guy up in the basket never even made it out of the basket. It blew up so fast.
What's the basket?
It's up on the top when they're pulling pipe. You'll see, if you watch any videos of a rig, he'll be up. They call it, well, some call it the crow's nest. I've always just kind of called it the basket because it looks like a basket up there, and then it's got a bunch of fingers in it. So when they're pulling drill pipe, it'll come up. He takes it out of the, I forget what it's even called, but he'll unhook the deal and he'll take the pipe and pull it back and slide it in these fingers. So they stack them on the rig.
Uh-huh.
They don't set them back down on the ground, but,
yeah, you got to watch the videos.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right. Or you got to actually be out there doing it. You'll see.
Yeah,
That's it's kind of a hot spot if something were to happen, huh?
Yes. Yeah. It's different when you know something went horribly wrong there.
Because those flames will shoot way up in the air.
Yes, and they'll burn for days.
Really, you can't cap them.
Yeah, till they get capped.
And my mind is like, why can't you just?
If they could get the BOP to shut, like this one, they were fortunate enough to get it to shut. But by the time we got rigged in and everything, the well had lost its pressure, so we didn't have to do anything there.
So the pressure's so high if you try to put a cap on that.
Yeah, and then a lot, it's a lot too where, and I don't know for sure if the mud weight got off, because I think I was talking to you earlier about how they got it all figured out, how heavy the fluid's got to be in the well to keep the gas in formation so the gas don't get into the drilling mud or stuff. If you watch videos of a drilling rig and you'll see a flare stack off to the side, that's basically separating the gas out of the drill mud, sending it over to that flare stack, and then burning it off.
Wow. So the YouTube videos and stuff, watch those.
They're cool.
Yeah, when I started getting into trucking, I started watching YouTube to help me out.
Sure.
Because I was thinking about pulling doubles. I wanted to see what that was like. So if you're going to get into oil fields, you recommend watch some videos.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos out there that are good and informational. Nice. That'll even explain to you like what I did with the cementing of the casing, with the coil tubing.
Yeah. Do your research.
The fracking. The fracking locations are cool when you get out there and you got 10 of those 3,000 horsepower pumps running wide open, man. It's pretty cool. Just hearing all that horsepower bellowing,
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. So if a trucker considered North Dakota and oil fields to work today, what should they know before making the move?
Like I said, housing is a big thing.
Right.
Make sure a lot of places out there have company housing. Try and find something with company housing or some type of assistance with housing. And make sure you have a job before you go.
What happens there? Come on. You can get up there and
back when the boom was really going and there was no jobs around here.
Okay.
I was supervising. And I come out of Walmart one day and I had 3 guys standing by my pickup begging me for a job because they had used every penny they had to get there because the national news said that they could go up there and start work that day. Well, that's not the case. It's just like everywhere else. You got a background check, all that stuff.
Well, and don't they say if you're single, there's a pretty girl behind every tree?
Yeah. Yep.
Wait a minute. What's that?
There's no trees.
Yeah. You see this guy looking around.
Yeah. Yep.
He's lost. Yeah, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's one of the misconceptions. Yeah,
you're not going to show up there and just start a job that day. Make sure you have something lined up before you go. Especially with the oil field starting to it's going to be taken off again. I got friends up there that I talk to weekly and they are gearing up for the madness.
Yeah. So is there anybody stealing your job? Can you think you got a job and then somebody else take it from you?
No.
Okay. Right.
No.
So you can feel secure if you got something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what do you think the future is for oil field trucking? What's your opinion?
North Dakota, like I said, will always be there. Like I said, there's no pipeline. There was supposed to be that pipeline coming through and it got shut down. I haven't heard any rumblings of that even getting going again.
Really? What's the pipeline?
It's going to take the oil sands out of Canada and then they want to mix the oil from North Dakota with it because oil sands is a lot thicker than the oil coming out of the grounds in North Dakota. So they want to combine the two to make it flow better. And I believe that's supposed to go all the way down to Texas, down to the refineries and the shipyards down there in Texas.
Okay. So when they get done pulling it out and they ship it down to Texas or somewhere else?
Right. Because everything coming out of there is either by truck or rail. There's no pipeline in there like there is in Texas where they can just feed it to the pipeline.
Here's a silly question. I mean, I don't know, but you never know. Technology is advancing. What do you think automation or new regulations could change things, or some autonomous things could happen there?
I don't think you'd ever have autonomous anything in the oil field. You are on literal goat paths sometimes going back to these locations.
Goat paths. It's like there's no rail.
No.
Because there's cliffs there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a place.
It's not all flat.
Their mountains are inverted or something. Yeah. It's different.
It is.
We went to this one place, and if you've ever been to North Dakota, anybody listening to this is going to know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It's called the Bear's Den.
The Bear's Den.
Yep. Back when I first started, that was one truck wide all the way down these steep winding hills. And we went down at like 2 a.m. so you didn't see what was on the edge or anything like that. Yeah. And so basically the supervisor went down with the pickup and would stop anything that was going to be heading up. Mm-hmm. And then we would come down. The road has been widened. They have taken some of the steepness out of it now. Okay. But it's still, you would never think there was cliffs like that in North Dakota.
Right. Yeah. So what's good for driving there? Like a manual or automatic or?
The company 10? I was with, everything we had was 18 speeds.
18.
I love that transmission.
Yeah.
That should be in everything.
That's what they say. Yeah. 18 speeds good.
Yeah.
Because you can split them.
Oh, you can split them. You can drive it like a 9-speed. You can drive it like a 13-speed, a 10-speed, whatever you want. It's all there.
So you got an A restriction on your license. You can't do the oil field.
They're just like everybody else. They're getting into the automatics.
Oh, they are?
Yep, they are.
Okay.
You could probably still go up and see the skid marks from the first time I drove an automatic, because I went to go step on the clutch and I slammed on the brakes and probably left a 30-foot skid mark before I realized what I had done.
That's funny. Oh, man. Oh, man. So we got work to do. There's plenty of work to go around in the trucking industry. I think teamwork is going to be huge, looking out for each other, not giving up on each other and your dreams. There's ways you can get there. You just got to find the path and lean upon each other. Hey, I think your words are going to help a lot of people that may be looking to expand their career. And I'm glad you're able to come on the show and share your experience. And there's more that left. I'm sure you can come back and do some more, talk about the line haul business as well.
Yeah. And then even to finish your management question from before I sidetracked you, I mean, I got through the acid part of it.
Yeah.
And then one night they were short a coordinator and they just asked me to sit in there and answer phones.
Huh.
And so I sat in there answering the phones, but I also was on the program just making dummy tickets. So I taught myself how to build a job pack for a job, sitting on the computer at night in there all by myself, answering phone calls and then calling out the crews when the job's called.
Like a dispatch?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They called us coordinators.
Okay.
Because we would take the information from the rigs, get it to the engineers who would build the job program, design the cement and all that stuff. And then the trucks would be loaded, the cement would be tested to make sure it didn't flash set or anything on us.
Okay.
And then once everything was good, when the job called, you dispatch the crews. So, but yeah, I coordinated up there for
quite some
6
time.
of the last years I was up there. I was in the office.
Man, so
there's always room for moving up there.
Yeah,
always is.
There's a lot of teamwork involved with that too. I mean, you got to know and trust each other when you're making these decisions that they can affect a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And I used to thank God every night that when the crews called, nobody was hurt. Everybody was coming home. And I never had to be part of that unholy phone call that nobody ever wants to make to somebody's family saying that their loved one ain't coming home.
Wow.
I thank God every day for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good, man.
Because it is dangerous.
Yeah.
No, we had a lot of fun. a lot of stuff like that, but it is very dangerous up there.
Wow. Well, I appreciate your contribution, and I think a lot of people can learn from your determination and to do the right thing. It can be in so many facets of your career. It's not just let's just try to get this done. I mean, there's other things you have to do that people don't see, the bits and pieces that put it all together. I mean, you were part of that puzzle. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, even with this podcast, I couldn't do it by myself. So I appreciate you coming on the show. And too, Jesse, thank you for bringing him on. He's got a lot to contribute. I love his stories. Yeah, man, you guys are teamwork out there doing it.
Yeah, well, like I said, the bad part was when I left the oil field. One of his good friends talked him into coming back to Holland.
How'd you do that?
I did talk to him.
Yeah.
That was another guy.
No, another friend of mine talked me into coming back up, and I tried going, and I just didn't have it in me anymore.
Okay.
So it takes a lot out of you.
So he talked to me coming back to Holland to work with us guys. That's a story in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Holland story, man.
Yeah.
That's that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
We should do that one day.
We can.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I just put this all together, edit it, and take out my my errors. I gotta get me an engineer, sound engineer, right? One day.
You gotta get a fan or air conditioning in this room.
Yeah, it's a cooker, isn't it?
It is warm.
Yeah, the hot box.
Yeah. So
all the lights.
It's not just my nerves.
No, it's not. I'm in here. When I do a show too, I come out and I'm like, wow. I tell my wife, like, whoo. Yeah. So yeah, then the way it keeps the story shorter and
right.
So yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and a lot of people out there are going to realize just how much trucking is tied up into the oil field and the industry, and then you can give us a real look into that world when people listen to this. So the folks that want to keep up and want to learn more about trucking, the oil industry, where can they find some more information? Where would you go to continue the research? What would be your first place to go?
Websites, Google oil field, North Dakota oil field jobs or Texas oil field jobs. I know North Dakota makes a lot more money than Texas, but Texas, you don't have the winners.
Right.
But, yeah, anything, I would start with North Dakota oil field jobs just on a search, and they will pop up all over.
Nice. What would you say, Jesse?
Well, I'm just going to say people need to remember the general public when these guys are out driving around. You get angry because they're in your way or they're moving too slow, but, they can't stop on the dime. And if a truck, if you bought it, a truck brought it.
Yes.
They're bringing oil, they're bringing fuel, they're bringing groceries, they're bringing hardware, they're bringing lumber. I mean, if it wasn't for the trucks, this country would shut down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as far as being general public, you just got to remember these guys are out there doing a thankless job every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't get enough thanks for it.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about that. I mean, you can produce something. You have a wonderful product and a great resource for a lot of people. And there's no cut to that producer, like a farmer or an oil rig, but you can't get it to people and get it to where it needs to go without a truck driver.
Exactly.
It's just the way it's set up.
Yep.
I know they're going to try to change that and try to do things to get it automated, but I still think the human factor is going to be a huge thing. So teamwork is going to be critical. Maybe there's going to be, population depletion. It's going to decline, and we're going to need more autonomous. I don't know, or more automation because there's just less people. So hey, let's work with that too, because you moved up into the management, and you got to see how you make those job tickets and everything. So there's ways that we can move up and take a leadership role and still be still a trucker at heart.
Absolutely.
Because you understand the industry, the ins and outs. So I think working together is going to be the key factor. It's going to be that's going to be the game changer.
Well, the nice part about what Randy did, Randy was a driver. Excuse me, worked his way up. I mean, so when he got into the management position, he understood what the drivers go through on a daily basis. He knows the sacrifices that they make. He was one of them. You get somebody that comes in completely with no experience on that end and just comes out of college and goes into what Randy's doing. I mean, there is no concept of time of what these guys sacrifice on a daily basis, family-wise or anything else.
Yep.
You
have a lot of aha moments, and some of them, they just go right over your head.
Yes.
Because you're just not able to understand the facets of why is it taking so long. That's always the one right there, right?
Yep, right.
Why is it taking so long? Why you got to do 12 hours?
Yep. I used to tell the guys when they would leave for a job, because there were signs all over out there, trucks pulling out ahead, whatever, or trucks maybe pulling out, heavy traffic, whatever. I always told the guys, I said, just remember, every other vehicle on that road is more important than you are. That's the way they act. Yeah. I said, give them the space. I don't care if it takes you 3 hours to get to location. Stay in your convoy and get there safely.
Right.
Because you're driving a truck and all they see is, oh, I can't see in front of it, or there's 6 of them in a row. I'm not going to stay behind them. And back when it was 2 lanes, they would pass.
They would just hit them, try to pass 12 trucks?
Pass you. They'd pass you on the shoulder. They'd pass you on the right. I mean, it was, they just did not care.
Yeah, go home and make a sandwich.
Right.
That's what they were in the... What was the rush about? Yeah. I got to make a sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something's so urgent. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. And the one thing I've noticed recently, ever since COVID, I don't know if you've noticed it, but the hostility out on the roads nowadays with the other drivers, the cars, the aggressiveness that they're driving at, it gets scary sometimes.
Yeah. I know they get on the back of my trailer and they disappear.
Yes.
I said, I can't see it.
Yeah, right.
I see the lights.
Yep.
But man, you're really up on me.
Yep. You got my tandems all lit up, but I can't see you. It's different out there ever since COVID. I will say that.
Yeah, anxiety is a real thing. People want to ignore it, but it moves you. It makes you make different decisions. It makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. So you got to recognize it for what it is. Anxiety is real. We try to help people with a lot of that. I mean, it's a team effort on that too.
Yep.
So I see a lot of people come out after 2020, comedians and therapists, and we need it. And I appreciate them too helping out a lot of people, because they got issues that need to be dealt with, and not necessarily just dwelling on it to nonstop, but just got to work through it. You know, got to give yourself time.
Yeah.
So
my dad always said that laughter is the best medicine, and
hey, you do it, man.
I do get wound up, but I try to have as much fun as I can. I know Jesse has talked me off the ledge more than once.
Yeah. That's that teamwork again.
Yep.
That's cool, man. I appreciate you guys too. I mean, I don't have as much experience as you guys, but you coming on and on the show, and we use this platform to help other people. I appreciate all your years that you put in and hard work. When I was a young trucker at heart, it was truck drivers like yourself that helped me to see, hey, and it's possibly something I can do.
Yeah.
So, man, I appreciate that. So, yeah, that's about it, So for all the listeners out there, whether you're behind the wheel or at the oil fields yourself, or just tuning in for, a nice podcast on your ride and just hanging out with us on That's Delivered. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review. We appreciate it. All the love you guys are putting out there. So keep on trucking, and until next time, keep those wheels turning, stay safe out there, and remember, that's delivered.
Are you a trucker looking for a safe and reliable place to park? Look no further than Truck Parking Club. With locations across the country, we've got the perfect spot waiting for you, whether it's daily or long-term parking. And right now, use promo code DELIVERED at checkout for an exclusive discount. Reserve your spot today at truckparkingclub.com and drive stress-free, knowing your parking is covered.